I think if I had to take a poll of what state people have been to the least in America, it's got to be either Montana, North Dakota, or Maine. But that's my opinion. Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon reviewing Lost on a Mountain in Maine. So this is based off a true story of a 12-year-old being lost on a mountain in Maine. What? In 1939. For that little bump, the reason exhausting in the actual days he was in there, I think he was lost for about 9 to 12 days, if I'm not mistaken, on this mountain in Maine, traveling a whopping 80 miles from where he was last seen. And with this, we're going to talk about family, forgiveness. I want to say cowardliness, but stubbornness, survivalist. What is one person's motivation to keep on going? So, do I like this film? I thought it was a pretty good film. Yes. Is it very by the books? Yes. Is it very predictable? Yes. Does it bring really nothing new to the table? Sure. However, sometimes it is okay to have an inspirational movie that is about survival, is about where your body will take you. What does your mind and physical aspect do? And the only real thing I could say that I've done, yes, I've climbed Pico in the Azores, but doing a marathon without training. That was a horrible idea. And at the 20.2 mile mark, my body seized up. And that was a complete game of mental versus physical. And you do see it in this movie of, can this kid mentally go on, or is it physical? Because sometimes you want to physically continue, but it mentally doesn't. For example, when I got to the 13 mile marker, because that's where you see the half marathoners leave, and then you have another half marathon to go, and that's where your mind goes, what are you doing? Why are you not taking a left? Why are you not taking a left? You're going right. You could be done, and that's mental. But then when you get to that 20 mile marker and you're like, I only got 6 more miles to go. I freaking got this. Then your body shuts down, but then you mentally like, you got this, you got this, you got this. And what really got this is kind of what Colin Farrell did with his marathon. When I was in Morocco, Marrakesh, there's like these 4 people like carrying a girl who had cancer. And I'm like, if those guys can do it, I sure she can do it. And I got passed by like an 84-year-old Japanese man. And I'm like, if he could do it, I could do it. I'm not saying that's the freaking same of surviving in these mountains of Maine for 9 to 12 days. I'm not saying that. I'm saying is I understand when it comes between mental versus physical, and sometimes they could fight with each other. And this movie does do good with that. And it does good with family, about the dynamics of family and what can actually be told of the father and son, and during this depression time of, the angstiness of teens at that. There is a interesting, I'm going to call it subplot, but a story about the mountain with this weird winged, I'm going to call it angel, but an eagle. And it was an interesting mind melt of protection. This is one scene I thought was very fascinating and interesting what they decided to do there. What I also like is bringing in real life people, because like I said, this happened in 1939, and I would say about every 15, 20-esque minutes, they bring in maybe the brother. They bring in like someone that helped try to find this boy in the 39. And I thought that was very fascinating. Of course, at the very end, they have real pictures, real footage of the kid getting rescued and taken to the hospital. So anytime you bring in real footage, I really dig it, because it proves that you actually have something to go off of, and you're not Hollywoodizing this story. Even though, yes, there's plenty of Hollywoodizing in this story, dealing with some of the mental capacities of what this kid went through. Because you gotta think about it. His shoes shot. He basically had no pants, no shoes, one shirt on his back because he gave his sweater to the brother in the very beginning of the story. So you're just like, he's trying, and even the family member said if it wasn't him, they don't think any of the other children they had would have made it because of his stubbornness of wanting to survive. And I kind of agree with that, and that talks about where we're at with today, the TikTok culture, and, if we have the rules and laws now, but move to like the 1700s style of living, of like, no AC, no heating, I can see people committing suicide left and freaking right, like the Robert Redford, uh, Jason Segel movie. But yeah, negatives, like I said, it's very predictable. You know exactly what's going to happen from A to B to C. You know the dilemma between the parents, you know the dilemma between the brother, you know what each party is going to try to do. This kind of reminds me of the movie Faith of Angels, if I'm not mistaken, where that 1989 mineshaft kid that was stuck there for 5 days. This is kind of the same premise and same story, except woods, mountain, mineshaft, 5 days, 9 days, and one's religious and one really isn't. So overall, Lost on a Mountain in Maine, I enjoyed it. It did what it was supposed to do. Yes, some pacing issues. Yes, you could say some of it was, you're like, okay, that's interesting what they want to do with this story, but it's all about survival and can you survive? So Lost on a Mountain in Maine will receive a 3.5 out of 5 with Futon, so it goes at 70%. Let's see what the critics' news scores gave this one. Critics, a 58% with 12 of them. No critic consensus. So it looks like the audience, they absolutely love it. We have 3 out of 5, 3 out of 5, 4, 5, 3, 5, 5. So, I think people overall, this is a solid movie that if you want to do something inspirational. 58-70. Chase Lock here at the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One more thing, Futontopia. You Blue Futonians, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Watch this today, tomorrow, a week from now, a month, or a year from every single freaking one of you. Peace and love, peace and love. And if you're going up a mountain, don't argue with your parents because you might get stuck and die on a mountain in Maine.